Do you know what it feels like to be invisible in your own family? The kind of silence where even your breathing feels like a mistake. That was me, Lena McAllister, the second child, the afterthought, the one who didn't quite fit the family mold. It was my brother Michael's wedding. A ballroom full of silk ties, polite laughter, and glittering lies. The air smelled like money and masks. You're just a security guard, Lena. A glorified one at best. Those were the words my father raised his glass with in front of 300 wedding guests. And in that moment, I realized he had never truly known me. But now he would. Dad, as always, performed like a seasoned politician, regaling the crowd with stories of Michael's brilliant career, sprinkling in a few light-hearted jabs at his difficult daughter, who dropped out of college and now worked somewhere in government security. The crowd laughed, and I remembered rappelling out of a helicopter in Bolivian jungle heat 3 days ago, under gunfire. My father was about to give his big toast, the moment he waited for, to praise his golden son. I watched him raise his glass, smiling, proud. He didn't know what was coming. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. Turn on News Channel 24, now. I stared, disconnected from my own face. That Lena, the one on screen, commanded strike teams, wrote policy, and carried secrets. The other Lena, Dad's Lena, was just a girl who didn't give him grandkids. My dad spoke like a man reading scripture, confident, rehearsed. Michael, football captain, top of his class, charming wife at his side. And then came my name, or more accurately, my dissection. He said I dropped out, never gave him grandkids, worked some government job, a disappointment with a badge. It felt like being stripped bare. The words landed with surgical cruelty, not cruel by intent, but by assumption. He truly believed what he was saying, and the crowd believed it too. Some eyes turned to me, polite pity. Others avoided me completely, unsure where to look. Meanwhile, a few guests still stared at their phones, watching footage of the raid, completely unaware that the woman being humiliated in front of them was the same one leading headlines across the country. I'm the special agent in charge. I led the Santa Maria raid, the largest drug bust in U.S. history. You said I never settled down? I said. Last month, I received the highest honor in my agency. This week, I dismantled a cartel. My father's champagne glass slipped, shattered. You said success is about choices. I chose to protect a nation. You chose comfort. I hoped you'd be proud of who I was, not just what I did. But I was wrong. Around me, the crowd was frozen, barely breathing. Michael stammered. The room held its breath. We didn't know, he said. Because you never asked, I replied. You all wrote a story. I just played the part. But I'm done pretending I'm less than what I am. And suddenly, the room changed. I turned back to my father, who still hadn't spoken. You want to talk about success? I asked, my voice sharpening again. Tomorrow morning, I'll be flying to D.C. to brief the Attorney General on this operation. Next month, I'll testify before Congress about cartel infiltration in American cities. The President of the United States knows my name." That line settled like a weight across the room. No one moved. I looked at Michael. "Congratulations. I hope your wife never has to explain why she matters." I walked to the door. My father's voice, soft, cracking. "Lena, I'm sorry." And for once, he meant it. I didn't turn back. The night air hit like truth. Cool, sharp, unsparing. I stood beneath the blinking hotel sign, the muffled music from the ballroom fading behind thick glass. The city hummed, indifferent, alive. For a long moment, I just breathed. Then I checked my phone. 17 missed calls, 43 unread texts. Most were from colleagues, some from news outlets, already circling like hawks. I sat behind the wheel, didn't start the engine, just stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Lena McAllister, 43. No husband, no kids, no neat story for family dinners. But also Lena McAllister, decorated federal agent, leader of the most successful anti-cartel operation in a generation. Woman who stood alone and never blinked. That night, back in my apartment, I didn't unpack, didn't read the headlines. I sat in silence, phone still buzzing somewhere across the room. Then I opened my laptop, typed a single sentence in a blank document. Tell the story only if it hurts to say it. I had 30 days before the next field assignment, 30 days before everything started moving again. And for the first time in 24 years, I had something else to say. 2 weeks later, a letter sat on my desk. Handwritten, ink slightly smudged. The words had come in waves, and each one had cost something. "Dear Dad," it began, "there are some things I should have said before, not out of anger, but because silence is a slow form of disappearance. I hadn't mailed it. Maybe I never would, but I wrote it, and that mattered." The past 2 weeks had passed like vapor. Interviews, briefings, security reviews, whispers of promotion. Everyone suddenly knew my name. But fame is just another kind of noise. In quiet moments, I still heard the silence of that ballroom, still saw the way my father looked at me after the truth unfolded. Not angry, not ashamed, just small. Like a man who realized he'd built his house on the wrong map. I visited my mother's grave that Sunday. She died before I joined the agency. Never knew the full weight of what I carried. But I like to think she would have seen me, even when I didn't make it easy. I stood there a long time. No badge, no rank, just her daughter, and whispered, "You would have known." On the 29th day, I received a file. Top priority. Eyes only. Codename, Pale River. Objective. Lead international extraction of a U.S. asset embedded in Eastern Europe. It was risky, political, but familiar terrain. Roman's message was brief. "You're the only one I trust for this. You in?" I stared at it. For a while, then thought of that ballroom again. Of standing alone in a room full of people who were supposed to know me, and realizing I had never needed them to. I'd built something without applause and in spite of absence. And now I was ready to disappear again. But this time on my own terms. I typed back, "I'm in. Wheels up in 48." That night, I printed the letter, folded it once, placed it in an envelope, wrote his name on the front, no return address, no signature, and I left it in his mailbox. He'd read it. Maybe not today, maybe never aloud, but he'd know that I was never angry for being unseen, only for being misunderstood, and that what I wanted all along was not recognition, but truth. Final lines of the letter. Success isn't what the world claps for. It's what you can carry when the lights are gone and still feel whole.